So guys, today I think it's important to discuss likability. Now I know at times we don't really think about that because our personality is our personality, but we have to understand first and foremost that there are prejudices that exist in clients. To assume the world is perfectly fair and judged alone on merit is extremely naive, right? You are either too young, too fat, too old, too dark-skinned, too light-skinned, too Asian, too whatever. Regardless of whether you're a good bloke or not, the first opinion of the client is going to indicate to them as a starting point whether they like you straight away or not. Now here's another fun fact. You got about 30 seconds for them to really decide to make that impression. So if you're going in there, jumping straight to business, faking the rapport and not giving a shit, they're gonna see straight through you guys, right? Now, the app does the majority of the work for you. And that's the first thing to understand. Your main responsibilities are to build your credibility. So in other words, to know answers to questions and to prove to them on multiple levels that what they're doing is not right. And the second stage is for them to like and trust you. Now, unfortunately, it's not easy to teach likability and trustworthiness. So some it comes natural, some it doesn't. But it's always important to get perspective from the person in front of you. Now, here's a few quick tips. Tip 1 is ensure that you are mirroring the client to start with. If they're upbeat and peppy, they're upbeat and peppy. If they're down and dry, you're down and dry. You must give them familiarity, and then when you have rapport with the client, then you can speed them up or slow them down to the pace that you're comfortable with and develop and demonstrating your financial plan or strategy. The next point is you guys really need to be a student of the world, right? It sounds ridiculous, but you have to know what's going on, and it doesn't take long to catch up. One newspaper, if you just go through the headings, it'll take you about an hour, right? You have to go through every newspaper. Go through the headings, read the first 2 paragraphs, right? Because the way a newspaper works is they've got a heading, they've got a summary of the story, and then they go into detail. Know what's going on. In terms of the financial review, you have to understand what's going on in the financial world, not because what they're saying is true. It's because perception is reality. If they believe it to be true, then it is true. Now, a few more quick points. Learn their fucking names. Now, if you're like me, I am terrible with names. So, if I know the client's name going in, I make sure I write it on every edge of the folder, inside and outside. So whenever I'm talking to them, I know that, you know, if there's a couple, a husband and wife, the girl's name is this, the guy's name is that, I refer to them by their first names. In the event where it's a same-sex couple, I put L and R underneath their names if they're sitting left or to the right of me. So I know I can assess which one is which. If they have children, please God, stop referring to them as kids, children, youngest child, eldest child. They will know firsthand that you do not give a fuck about them, right? When you're talking goals and the kids and the clients light up about their children, you need to light up to them too. And you have to remind them that James Jr. is looking at going to private school education. What happens if that doesn't happen, right? Now, and the last point, I compare it to disciplining a child, right? If you're their parents, you need to discipline them. Doesn't mean you don't love them, right? Same applies to the client. Just because they need to like you doesn't mean they're always right. Because if you're constantly agreeing with what they say and what they're saying is absolute bullshit, then you're doing them a disservice. All right? Be prepared to tell the clients they're fucking wrong. It's plausible, it's possible, and it's more than likely on most occasions, guys. We had a client tell one of our advisors recently that private school education, Catholic school education, costs $2,000 a year. That's a massive bullshit on the bullshit detector. I've never seen a school that costs $2,000 a year. Maybe they're referring to uniform costs. Ask the questions and feel free to push back when they're talking rubbish. That's what you're there for. I don't need to finish on a point, guys. Last point. It's at closing, right? You've got all the videos and techniques about it. Guys, you have to take it personally if they don't go ahead with you. Not so much the indication of how poor a job you're doing. But most importantly, the reason we have to take it seriously is because if you do not get them to take up your advice, then quite frankly speaking, you've screwed them out of a good financial future. They can't do it without us. They can't. They don't know what we know. So you have to fight for your clients' children. Tell them that I'm fighting for your kid's future. Excuse me if I'm passionate, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, but you have to do something. You want your kids to go to private school education? You can't afford this. You want to retire? You can't afford to if you keep doing what you're doing. So Mr. and Mrs. Client, forgive me if I'm pressing here. I'm not going to ask you to sign today, but what I am going to do is make a plea that you have to do something. If it's not me, it's somebody. But I will tell you, if you go with somebody, Mr. and Mrs. Client, they're not going to fight for you half as much as I do. Does that make sense, Mr. and Mrs. Client? Does that make sense, guys? Alright guys, please, I want more and more ideas for what videos you want. Keep me posted so I can keep writing them for you. Best of luck, guys. Bye.